Before we go into this chapter, this is probably the shortest chapter of the whole book. Maybe, we'll see and we'll find out, but it's only a couple pages. But here, I want to point out, these three chapters, chapter 1, 2, and 3, is really setting up the premise of the book. So kind of stay in tune here, stay with it here, because really in the next chapter, the next unit, where we're really going to be digging into the science of getting rich. But without further ado, let's dig into chapter 3, Is Opportunity Monopolized? And this is how I take it with this chapter. What Wattles is really talking about is, most of us we have an idea, we have an opinion, maybe it's how we're brought up, we saw our opinions of our parents, but most of the time that's what conditioning is. We're really a combination of both of our parents. I mean, the beliefs of our parents, our likes of our parents, and our friends and our environment, who we hang around. That's who we really become like. Now in this chapter, Is Opportunity Monopolized? Some of us kind of have an idea that opportunity isn't for everybody. Abundance is limited. There's a short supply. Makes sense. There's a short supply of riches. Only certain people are rich and everybody else is poor. Some people get rich, some people don't. That's what he means, is opportunity monopolized. Is opportunity purposely being taken away from you? Which really means is the supply limited. And here, first and foremost, before we dive into here, this chapter, I want to tell you, abundance is not limited. It's unlimited. That's how we have to think. The laws of nature, the laws of God, the laws of the universe, abundance is for everybody. It's not limited. We all can have what we want. There's no limited supply. We brought up to think that supply is limited, but it's not a wealthy concept. That's why there's a separation between middle class and wealthy. It has nothing to do with riches and money. That's what we see first and foremost. But it's here. It's within here is what we really think, what we're attracting to ourselves. Now, let's dig into this chapter. First paragraph, he starts off. He says, "You're not kept poor because opportunity has been taken away from you. Because other people have monopolized their wealth and put a fence around it." Wow, he's digging right into it, jumping right into it. "You may decide not to engage in certain kinds of business, but there are other channels open to you." Listen to this. You may not decide to engage in a certain business, but, a big but, there are other channels open to you. And the way I take this, for example, I mean, there's been many companies I've been involved with in the past. I mean, some as an employee, some as a business owner, co-owner, a consultant. But sometimes what happens is when we're engaged in a business as an employee or whatnot, that once we're around for a while, we kind of get a sense of they're really not in it for the right reason. And for me, with kind of being ethical and moral, my background, now I really want to be part of a company that goes above and beyond, that does the right thing. They're in it for the right reason. They're in it to help people. See, once I figure that out, I don't want no part of the company. I'll walk away from it. I don't want to be associated with it. This is what he's talking about. He says, you may not decide to engage in certain kinds of business. But just because you might not engage in certain kinds of business, he says, but there are other channels open to you. In your life right now, you might not like your job. It might not be for you. You might not agree with it. But what he's saying inside this book, there are other channels open to you. There is abundance of opportunity for man or woman who will go with the tide instead of trying to swim against it. Let me read the paragraph before that. At different periods of the tide of opportunity moves in different directions according to the needs of the whole and to the particular stage of social evolution which has been reached. There is an abundance of opportunity for the man or woman who will go with the tide instead of trying to swim against it. There's a lot of wisdom in this paragraph. Go with the tide. How many times in our life are we constantly swimming against the current besides going with it? Like he said in the other chapter, it's about living in harmony with the laws of the universe, with natural laws. It's in harmony. So why are you constantly swimming against the current? Why are you constantly trying to force something to happen? Remember, as you try to force something, most of the time it runs from you. Make sense? It's about going with the tide instead of against the tide. He says office workers, either as individuals or as a group, are not deprived of opportunity. The workers are not being kept down by their masters, by the powers of big business and the conglomerates. As a group, they are where they are because they do things in a certain way. Listen to this. As a group, they are where they are because they do things in a certain way. See, to be honest, you are where you are in life right now because you do things in a certain way. Same way for me. I am where I am right now because I do things in a certain way. He's kind of almost suggesting in a way, maybe we call it nowadays as a victim mentality. No, a victim mentality is we blame every outside circumstance except taking personal responsibility. We blame our boss. We blame our mother, our father, our spouse, our husband, our boyfriend, girlfriend. We blame the tire. We blame our car. We blame something. If we're late for work, we have a blame for it. But when it really comes down to it, the real truth is we overslept. We slept in too late. We didn't get ready. We didn't get a car. That's us. Makes sense? We don't want to accept personal responsibility. And this is what it means. As a group, they are where they are because they do things in a certain way. First step, you have to take personal responsibility. Stop blaming outside entities. And he says in the last chapter of this page, in the first page, when they begin to do things in a certain way, their working class can become the master class. The law of wealth is the same for it as it is for all other groups. Wow, the law of wealth is the same for you as it is for me. The law of wealth is the same for you as it is for the wealthy class. It's the same law, the same thing. It's about doing things in a certain way, as Wattles puts it. He says, no one is kept in poverty by shortness and supply of riches. There is more than enough for all. Listen to this. There is no one kept in poverty by shortness supply of riches. There is more than enough for all people. We just covered this. We just talked about it. Abundance is for all. You can have anything you want to have. All your dreams, desires, goals can come true. It really can. But if you have a concept of riches are limited, abundance is only for some people, that's exactly what you're attracting into your life. That's exactly what you're getting. You're only getting what you truly believe. This is why I said with this book and these chapters, he's going to bring up a lot of preconceived ideas that you have. Listen to this. No person, therefore, is poor because nature is poor, or because there is not enough to go around. Read it one more time. No person, therefore, is poor because nature is poor, or because there's not enough to go around. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse for abundance. When he's talking about nature, he's talking about nature's laws of the universe. The supply would never run short. The original substance is alive with the creative energy and is constantly producing more forms. When the supply of building material is exhausted, more will be produced. Wow. When the soil is exhausted so that foodstuffs and materials for clothing will no longer grow upon it, it will be renewed and more soil will be made. When all the gold and silver has been dug up from the earth, if human beings are still in such a stage of social development as to need gold and silver, more will be produced from the formless. The formless stuff responds to the needs of humans. It will not let them be without any good thing. This is true of man collectively. Or we can say woman. This is true for man or woman collectively. The race as a whole is always abundantly rich. Listen, the race as a whole is always abundantly rich. If individuals are poor, it's because they do not follow a certain way of doing things, which makes the individual person rich. Listen to this. If individuals are poor, it is because they do not follow a certain way of doing things, which makes the individual rich. They're not following the same laws. The formless stuff, he calls it the formless stuff in this chapter. And I'm not going to explain what it is, because I know he explains it in the next chapter. The formless stuff is intelligent. It is material, which thinks. It is alive and always impelled towards more life, more good, more abundance, more riches. It is the natural inherent impulse of life to seek to live more. It is the nature of intelligence to enlarge itself and the quality of consciousness to seek to extend its boundaries and find fuller expression. The universe of forms has been made by formless living substance, throwing itself into form in order to express itself more fully. Now, this is kind of tricky to understand. Now, when you read this chapter first time, like, what in the world is he talking about? But as we go through the book, now I don't want to spoil it here, we will explain. And I'm going to read the last paragraph. It is a fact which I shall demonstrate a little further on, that even the resources of the formless supply are at the command of any man or woman who will act and think in a certain way. The great secret of life is available to all. The great secret of life is available to all. I'll read it one more time. This is powerful. It is a fact which I shall demonstrate a little further on. Listen to this. That even the resources of the formless supply are at the command, listen to this, are at the command of any man or woman who will act and think in a certain way. The great secret of life is available for all. You see, you have to understand this. All your dreams, desires, passions, your wants, your goals, everything you want in your life is at your command. You just have to command it. You just have to believe it. It's about belief and commanding things in your life. And once you command it, once you know it, your belief is so strong, you're not second guessing yourself. I'm going to end with this one more time. I mean it this time. It is a fact which I shall demonstrate a little further on, that even the resources of the formless supply are at the command of any man or woman who will act and think in a certain way. The great secret to life is available to all. The great secret to life, the great secret to riches, the great secret to achieve everything you want are available to all and available to you today. And I'll see you in the next unit, in the next chapter.